do let me know that whenever you will start.
You can. So you can proceed.
Shall I start?
Hello. Can I start
Yes, sir. Completely.
straight
Sir,
away or okay?
sir, I am the moderator. I am starting. I am starting in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. So, am I audible and visible to all of you?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You can start.
Yes, Aditya, you are audible and visible too.
Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all. I am Aditya Trivedi, Administrator of the Advocates League. Would like to welcome our Honorable Speaker, Shri Ashwini Dubey, Advocate on Record, Supreme Court of India, and all the participants and all the members. I also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Ayush Prakash, who is the Senior Associate of the Advocates League. Without much ado, and I would like to introduce the Advocates League to all of you. The Advocates League is an initiative whose work is dedicated in the field of legal research, including publications, online journals, and also organizing various types of competitions and seminars. We have a team which is dedicated in bringing legal reforms and in the legal fraternity per se. Our team consists of students and alumni of various law colleges and universities of the country. The Advocates League is under the guidance of eminent personalities of the legal fraternity, such as distinguished lawyers of Supreme Court and various high courts. Further, I would also like to introduce Legal Sarcasm as our media partner. Legal Sarcasm is a venture under Spread Law Society dealing in the field of legal journalism. The daily news blogs cover all the legal aspects of social, political, economic, and technological issues which resolves around the world and India specifically on a daily basis. Further, we are honored to have with us Advocate Shri Ashwini Dubey sir, who would be addressing on proposed changes by states in labor laws of India. Shri Ashwini Dubey is an advocate on record in Supreme Court of India and an environmentalist. Many national and international newspapers have covered his work and reported on his work, on his contributions and efforts. He is a great orator and has participated in many TV debates also, including Delhi Aaj Tak, NDTV, Sudarshan News, India Today. He actively go for seminars and conferences as a keynote speaker, and we are also honored to have him today. Shri Dubey is a person who feels failure is nothing unless you address it. With this spirit and enthusiasm, he has received National Gaurav Award 2016 in Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi. Shri Dubey has also received award of honor by the Pent Grand International Equestrian Championship 2012. In 2015, he was also awarded with Vindhya Seva Samman in the memory of Pandit Keshav Giri ji. Shri Dr. Lal Singh Foundation honored Shri Dubey with Distinguished Citizen of India Award at Nehru Science Center, New Delhi. Also, a leading magazine, Tekhi Mirchi, published by cartoonist Irfan, felicitated Mr. Dubey with Award of Honor in the presence of Chief Minister of Delhi and famous actor Piyush Mishra. In North Zone Vice Chancellor's Conference, Shri Dubey has been conferred with Award of Honor. The list would not end. We pray that Sri Dubey shall always be an inspiration for youth like us and law students who aspire to be successful in his field. Sri Dubey believes that achieving success in life is not something one gets by luck, but is something for which a combination of skills, timing, and work is needed. I shall now hand over the screen to our honorable speaker.
Namaskar, good afternoon. Friends, we must have been reading the newspapers. We must be watching the news channels and also on many social media platforms, we must be watching that several state governments have proposed changes by bringing an ordinance to amend the labor laws. The labor laws, which took ages to reach here, several legislations, several states, many strikes, protest, and the pain which took all of them to reach to the place from where the minimum wages and other all wages in the equal right, equal pay as per the Constitution of India was given to them. But now, the proposed changes by invoking the public emergency clause by the state governments is really painful. Public emergency, I would like to tell you, means a grave emergency whereby the security of India or any part of the territory thereof is threatened, whether by war or external aggression or internal disturbances. The crisis, the recent crisis, is due to COVID-19. This is for the biological health hazards and surely is not covered by the definition of public emergency under Section 5 of the Factories Act, even under internal disturbances ground which must affect security of India. In the Constitution of India, from 1950, Article 14, Article 16, Article 19(1)(c), 23, 24, 38, and 41, 43(a) directly concern labor rights. Article 14 states, we all know that everyone should be treated equally before the law. Similarly, the Article 15 specifically says that the state should not discriminate against citizens. And Article 16 extends the right of equality of opportunity for employment and appointment under the state. Article 19(1)(c) gives everyone a specific right to form association or unions. Article 23 prohibits all trafficking and forced labor, while Article 24 prohibits child labor under 14 years old in a factory, mine, or any other hazardous employment. Similarly, Article 38, 39, 41, 43(a), however, like all rights listed in Part 4 of the Constitution, are not enforceable by courts, rather creating an aspirational duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. In Article 38(2), it goes on to say the state should minimize the inequalities in income and based on all other statutes. The Article 41 creates a right to work, which the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005 attempts to put into practice. Article 43 says that the workers should have right to a living wage and conditions of work, ensuring a decent standard of life. Article 43A, inserted by the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution of India in 1976, creates a constitutional right to co-determination by requiring the state to legislate to secure the participation of workers in the management of undertakings. I would like to tell you about the Interstate Migrant Workman Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1979. It's an act passed by the Parliament and enacted to regulate the condition of service of interstate laborers in Indian labor law. The very purpose of this act to protect the workers whose services are requisitioned outside their native states in India. But what we saw, what happened with the migrant laborer, I don't want to discuss it here. Thousands of workers on barefoot, they are on the roads to reach their home. So if we ask that in true spirit where the Interstate Migrant Workman Regulation of Employment and Condition of Service Act has been implemented, what are the rights of interstate workers? Equal or better wages for the similar nature and duration of work applicable for the local workmen or stipulated minimum wages under the Minimum Wages Act 1948. Displacement allowance, home journey allowance, including payment of wages during the period of journey, suitable residential accommodation and medical facilities free of charge on mandatory basis, termination of employment after the contract period without any liability, right to lodge complaint with the authorities within 3 months of the incident, accident, etc. Registration of all contractors. As the role which has been defined in the said act which I am discussing here, the role of the contractors have also been assigned. The registration of all contractors who employs or employed 5 or more interstate migrant workmen on any day of preceding 12 months. The contractor is duty bound to furnish the detail of workmen periodically in such forms as prescribed by the state government. The contractor is also duty bound to maintain the registers indicating the details of interstate workers and make available for scrutiny by the statutory authorities. Issue of passbook affixed with the passport size photograph of the workman indicating the name and place of the establishment where the worker is employed, the period of employment, rate of wages, etc. to every interstate migrant workman. But if we ask a question from ourselves, have we seen any of these kind of passport size photographs and identity card where the rates of wages and etc. have been mentioned? So is the labor law which was enacted by the parliament was implemented in true sense, which was enacted to benefit the laborers, the poorest of this country? And I think it was not, because I am coming to the amendment part also. Before that, I would like to tell all of you that what are the laws which are existing and applicable as of now. Reporting by the contractor the incidents of fatal incident, accident or serious injury of such workman to the specified authorities as per the act of both the states and also the next kin of the workman, liable for the prescribed punishment for violation committed under this act. Since the stipulation of this act are not implemented in true spirit by the state governments, more and more interstate workers are deployed in miserable working conditions at wages far below the prevailing local wages. The vested interest of labor departments in collusion with the principal employer and contractor is the main stumbling block to implement this act, which is hurting the interest of the local workmen and the improvement in their living standards. The Bonded Labor System Abolition Act 1976. After years of hard work, protest, when the government of India considered their miseries, the difficulties, the problems which was being faced by the bonded labor, they brought an ordinance law, they passed a law, the abolition of bonded labor system. However, the several Indian states have granted exemption to the industrial units from various provisions of the labor laws, such as Section 5 of the Factories Act, Section 36B of the Industrial Disputes Act. These exemptions from the provisions of the pre-constitution statutes have been granted by way of executive orders by various state governments to facilitate economic activities to the detriment of the workers and advantage of the employers in view of the global pandemic COVID-19. Rights of employees, laborers, government notifications in the wake of lockdown that loss of job as a threat to survival. In this hour of crisis, every employee in any field is facing a fear or threat of survival. As government have instructed the industries or factories to open and regulate it with the help of 50% employees, many private startup companies and contractual employees are facing a problem or no work, no salary. It has become difficult for the people to provide basic amenities to their families, as in some families there is one earning member and are compelled to lead their lives at the mercy of none but on Almighty God. It is no doubt true that presently the entire world is through the most difficult times. However, even under such a situation, a welfare state cannot be expected to force its least fortunate and most oppressed citizens into further miseries on the pretext of facilitating economic activities development by taking away their rights, existing rights, to their detriment and for the advantage of more fortunate citizens. The recent Gujarat's notification says that wages shall be in proportion of the existing wages. This means, as the notification points out, that if the wages for 8 hours are rupees 80, then the proportionate wages for 12 hours will be rupees 120. Thus, The overtime wages provided for by Gujarat is less than what is stipulated by Section 59 of the Factories Act, and to that extent, it is legally deficient. While Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh governments have exercised the powers conferred by Section 5 and Punjab government Section 65 of the Factories Act, Rajasthan did not specify any provision at all. The exercise of Section 5 by Gujarat is also questionable, as it empowers the state governments on the ground of public emergency to exempt factories from all or any of the provisions of Factories Act, save Section 65, which deals with prohibition of employment of children. The employers are making all the attempts to avoid their liabilities towards their employees during COVID-19, national crisis, international crisis, which you must be reading, you must be hearing. People are on a road, general public on road to give food to them, to feed them. But the employers who were duty bound to protect them have washed away, have not given any rights. They ran away. They left them in between. The employers are not taking the due obligations or not doing whatever was required from them. The amendment, alleged amendment, would have allowed companies to extend a factory workers' daily shift to 12 hours per day, 6 days a week, 72 hours from the existing 8 hours per day, 6 days a week, 48 hours. While the center hasn't yet amended the Factories Act, at least 4 state governments, Rajasthan on April 11, Gujarat on April 17, Punjab on April 20, and Himachal Pradesh on April 21 have issued notification in the last few days to increase the working hours. Dilution of labor laws in certain states affecting the interest of laborers and workers. In the wake of the migrant crisis, several states have amended existing labor laws, either suspending them altogether or increasing working hours. The Honorable Prime Minister Modi's address on May 12 also indicated legal changes in the offing, which will doubtless include amendments to labor laws. It is axiomatic that these amendments must be in consonance with the fundamental rights guaranteed to labor, as also the directive principles of state policy, which enjoin the state to further the interests of labor in its policies. Any legal changes will inevitably be challenged in court and must meet constitutional standard to survive such a challenge. The union and state also share responsibility to prevent the spread of contagious disease. Article 19(1)(d) of the Constitution protect the right to move freely throughout the territory of India. The Karnataka government's decision to cancel trains for migrant laborers, though later they reversed it, would likely have violated Article 19(1)(d) of the Constitution of India. No doubt, this COVID-19 crisis has brought one of the major extraordinary changes in the labor regime. This has not only brought massive migration of laborers, but India has also recorded high level of unemployment due to the closing down of markets. The migrant laborers are forced to leave their hometown, walking sometimes barefoot for thousands of kilometers. Amidst all this incident, like Aurangabad train disaster, have uncovered the vulnerability and helplessness of migrant laborers. It does not only raise questions on India's economic model, but also on the human rights issue. In such a situation, the state governments have legislated the temporary exemption from certain labor laws ordinance 2020, which passed few days ago. Like the Uttar Pradesh government has passed an ordinance exempting businesses from all labor laws except 3, Bonded Labor Act, Employees Compensation Act, and Building and Other Construction Workers Act for the next 3 years. Almost similar announcement for 1,000 days are also being made by the state government of Madhya Pradesh. These new developments in labor laws have come about in a very bizarre way. Thus, on the one hand, we are witnessing inhuman labor plight, and on the other, we are trying to liberalize the law so as to protect industries which will promote the hire and fire policy in the guise of creation of more jobs. India has one of the largest labor forces. According to analysis by the National Sample Survey Office, 92% of India's labor force belong to informal sector. The report further shows that 49.6% still do not have any social benefits, social security benefits. 71% had no job contract, and 54.2% were not eligible for paid leave. Most urban employees in India, according to NSSO, work on an average for more than 60 hours a week, which is higher than the International Labour Organization's prescribed time limit and one of the highest in the world. Move by state of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan to change the existing labor laws via an ordinance to temporarily suspend the operation of labor laws to help production struggle. It's way out of the hole in which it finds itself in the wake of 7 weeks of lockdown. India had 45 labor laws at the level of center, then about 200 labor laws at the level of the states, till the government decided to streamline the central laws into 4 codes on industrial relations, wages, social security, and occupational safety. This current move must be seen as an earnest governmental effort to revive the economy and breathe some life into the animal spirits that have gone into a swan. However, some caveats are in order. Labor is a concurrent subject. Being the concurrent subject, the center plays an important role. The center and states can make laws. Where there is any conflict between a central law and a state law on the same subject, the central law will prevail. If some of the laws sought to be suspended have a central counterpart, the suspension is open to legal challenge. The Uttar Pradesh have restrained compensation for disability caused at work. The Vizag gas leak recent major incident. There are laws in order, but see the safety concern. See the situation which was being faced by the local resident and then employees. See the environmental norms, how they were violated. The Vizag gas leak shows occupational safety brogues no compromise. The Madhya Pradesh has done well to let the shops stay open from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. But keeping shops open longer is the only way to prevent crowding of shoppers. A 12-hour shift is harsh and might be more cost-effective for managements to avoid costly overtime payments on a routine basis and deploy workers in 2 shifts. But change in the law gives employers the option to run a longer shift in a condition transient, and it is to be hoped of labor shortage. According to a notification issued by Madhya Pradesh government, this 11 categories of industries will be exempted from the Madhya Pradesh Industrial Relations Act. These includes textiles, leather, cement, iron, steel, electrical goods, public motor transport, engineering, manufacturing, or motor vehicles, among others. The changes by the Madhya Pradesh government, hire and fire. Establishment with up to 100 workers can hire according to needs. No registration for contractors with 50 laborers. No factory inspection for 3 months. No inspection for firms with less than 50 workers. Third-party inspection allowed. Registration and licenses to be issued within a day. Renewal of factory licenses once in 10 years. Startups need one-time registration and no renewal. Shift hours raised to 12 hours from 8 hours in a factory. Overtime of up to 72 hours permitted. Flexibility and changing shifts. Shops and establishment can operate from 6 a.m. till midnight. And Uttar Pradesh? In Uttar Pradesh, the industry has been exempted from labor laws except the Building and Other Constructive Workers Act, Workmen Compensation Act, and Bonded Labor Systems Act. A section of Payment of Wages Act will be applicable though. The Gujarat, the new industrial establishment are exempted from all labor laws except the Minimum Wages Act, Industrial Safety Rules, Employees Compensation Act, Ordinance to roll out benefits that would be available for 1200 days, 100% online approvals within 15 days, 33,000 hectares to be set aside and the land to be allotted in 7 days. In Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, and Punjab, the Factories Act was amended to increase the work time from 12 hours a day and 72 hours a week in place of 8 hours a day and 48 hours a week. Rajasthan has amended the Industrial Disputes Act to threshold the layoff and retrenchment to 300 from 100 earlier. The threshold membership of the trade unions has been increased from 15 to 30%. Maharashtra has allowed shop establishment factories to submit a consolidated annual returns in lieu of multiple returns under the various labor laws. Tamil Nadu has permitted the employment of women in night shift subject to safeguard measures. In Kerala, it has been decided to facilitate new industrial licenses within a week after the applications are filed. However, this would be subject to investor agreeing to complete formalities within a year. The impact of a forced changes would be that it will give a free hand to hire and fire. There will be no labor inspection, no government intervention, and no role of unions. Social welfare legislation like various labor laws cannot be amended, or operation of the same may be suspended by the state by way of an ordinance notification on the premise of facilitating economic growth, placing the entire adverse effects of such amendment suspension on the poor laborers only. The poorest of the poor laborers who earn their livelihood by working for someone else cannot be exclusively burdened to bear the detrimental effects of economic growth of the economically ruined country in view of the COVID-19 pandemic being faced by the entire world. The move of the state governments turns the clock back by more than 100 years. It will lead to slave-like conditions for workers, and the amendments in various labor laws are also in violation of the human and fundamental rights. The labor being the concurrent subject under the Constitution of India, the states can frame their own laws, but they need the approval of central government. Our forefathers have enacted various legislations to protect the interest of various poor workers who work in various industrial establishments and make useful contribution in the economic development of the nation. These legislations are even older than our Constitution, which provides for economic and social welfare of every citizen, however lawly placed in the society. In its directive principle state policies such as Article 38, 39, 42, 43, 43A, and 47, these principles were the guiding factors for our forefathers enacting the beneficial legislation for the protection of the health and dignified employment of poor workers and to prohibit their exploitation by their employers. The action of the governments are intended to deprive the poor laborers and workers of their valuable legal rights, which were available to them before the COVID-19 pandemic situation. The entire burden of economic development in this pandemic situation is placed on the shoulders of poor laborers, because the object of economic growth cannot be placed on pedestal above the welfare of the workers in a welfare state like our nation, as is being sought to be done by suspending statutory welfare provisions by way of executing order. The proposed exemption in various labor laws by the state amounts to invasion on the rights of the citizens, poor laborers, under guise of exemption for economic development granted to their employers, which clearly defeats the ostensible object of the benevolent legislation enacted for comfort, welfare, and safety of the poor workman. These are the possibilities. There are the possibilities that poor laborers, workers will be exploited at the hands of employers by granting exemptions to such employers without considering the physical, mental, and economic welfare of poor workmen, which are all intended to defeat the very intention of our forefathers, who took extreme care in enacting benevolent constitutional provisions as well as the statutes for the welfare of poor and downtrodden brethren of ours. There is need to consider the necessity to provide employment to maximum number of people in this pandemic situation. The states have not considered and granted various exemptions without thinking that there is a necessity to give employment to maximum number of people. Just I put a question to you. If an industry is operated 24 hours a day, then an 8 hours daily working will provide employment to more people without detriment to the industry, while increase in daily and weekly working hours will cause decrease in number employed. workers on the one hand and will have adverse effects on the health of poor workers on the other hand, which is definitely unjustified. So one person will get a job of 12 hours and other person will not get a job. And by keeping it for 8 hours, more and more persons can be employed. They can earn their livelihood, which would have been the mandate of the law framers, which would have given a thought by the state governments who are intending to amend this law. Not only this, the third party certification. Just think, here there are number of government machineries, statutory bodies, labor inspector, labor courts, labor commissioner, wages commissioner. There are a number of statutory bodies, exempting them all. No inspection by the labor department at all. The inspection will be done by a third party, and third party then definitely will work in the benefit of the employer. The person who has money, not in favor of the worker. As I discussed earlier, the law which deals with the migrant workers, have you seen how blatantly that has been violated? Have you seen thousands of workers stationed at the Anand Vihar metro station, railway station, in Mumbai, in Haryana, in Punjab, in Noida, in Uttar Pradesh? They are not able to cross the roads. Some of them have died on roads. And despite all this, again making an attempt to change it is not in the interest of the poor of the for the time being. It can be a relief for the, because economy has gone down. So it can, to counter it, some extent it is a counterproductivity is concerned, all right. But in a longer way, it is an attempt to reverse the clock. And that to third party certification for non-hazardous factories, employing up to 50 workers, exempting such industries from routine inspection by the departmental inspectors is illogical and against the interest of poor workers, who shall be exposed to exploitation at the hands of their employers in the absence of routine inspection by the government offices. And I hope this all my views, my point, keeping in view the topic which has been given by you, and it's a recent topic because I was approached by you and you asked for the topics. I said this topic, and on 22nd, some of the labor unions have also called a nationwide strike against the proposed amendment. So definitely use this webinar as the first webinar on this topic. And I wish you all best of luck to all the organizers and all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya, Ayush. Can you hear me? Anything else is there? Aditya, Ayush, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. And we are enlightened by your viewpoints, by your legal perspectives, and the constitutional and statutory aspects of this particular topic. Now, I shall hand over the screen to Mr. Ayush Prakash, who is Senior Associate of the Advocates League, to address the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Aditya. So first of all, good evening, everyone. And so first of all, I would like to thank Ashwini sir for making this seminar so interesting. So it was very informative also. And sir, we really appreciate the way you explained the small concepts to us by taking us to the constitutional provisions and enlighten us as to how to approach it pragmatically. Sir, I have three questions right now, so I will be addressing each question one by one. So is it okay with you?
Yes, tell me.
Okay, sir. So the first question is from Rishabh Kumar. So the question is, since labor law is on the concurrent list, so both the states, both the center and the states can make the law under this subject. But can a state government completely suspend central laws? Because this move goes against the center's attempt to codify the labor laws, sir.
Where there is a conflict, Ayush, then the central law will prevail.
Yes, sir. Okay,
As per the constitution, when there is a conflict, then the central law, the law enacted by the parliament, will prevail.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, moving to the next question. This is from Abhishek Jaiswal. The question is, does Industrial Dispute Act gives power to the state to exempt the entire act without any other alternative?
See,
Over to you.
to exempt even the Industrial Disputes Act is also passed by the Parliament, but some of the states have also enacted their own law. But it can only be done in consonance with the central government.
Right, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, the final question. This is from Shrish Pathak. The question is, Migrant Workers Law of 1979 has imposed responsibility on the contractors regarding migrants' labor rights. Sir, so how can we penalize such contractors to provide migrant laborers a remedy against inhuman treatment of labor during this pandemic, sir?
See, Ayush, the
Yes, sir.
role of contractor have also been assigned this Interstate Migrant Workmen Regulation of Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1979. The role is that contractor was duty bound to furnish the details of workmen periodically in such forms as prescribed by the state government, maintain the registers, issue a passbook affixed with the passport size photograph of the workman, and the wages should be mentioned on the passport size photograph in the identity card, and reporting by the contractor the incidence of fatal accident or serious injuries liable for prescribed punishment. The punishment has been provided in the act itself, but the problem is what I discussed, that both the statutory bodies and the employer work in nexus with each other, and the workman, being the poor person, despite having several legitimate rights given by the parliament, given by the state governments, are there. But since they have no money or no means of survival where they can afford to have a litigation, where they can afford to complain this, due to which they are misusing this provision. The provisions are there. We have to go through the act itself, which has been provided in the act.
Okay, sir. So these were the sir questions. Thank you so much for addressing the questions, sir. Now I would request Aditya to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayush.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ayush. I would request sir to please give a message to the young students, to young law students who are watching this webinar, who are watching this live session, so that they can see a role model figure in you, so that they can learn from you, and so that they can inspire from your words of wisdom. Please, sir.
Aditya, we all are inspiration of us. Means we are inspiration in ourselves. So we have to see first that whether the being the privileged member of the society, because the lawyer is always, if you read the various laws and various articles, everywhere it is written that the lawyers are the privileged member of the society. So that must come, that we should stand and support the poor, the needy, the deprived, the isolated. And lawyers fraternity, legal fraternity, it is said, एक कहावत की पुलिस में कुछ होता है तो लॉयर के पास चले जाते, साहब हमें बचाइए. So it is the lawyer fraternity only and the lawyers only who stand against any injustice in the society. But we have to work professionally, ethically. Our professional ethics should be there, should be properly maintained. और पढ़ते जाएंगे, बढ़ते जाएंगे, पढ़ते जाएंगे. आगे आइए, स्वागत है आपका बार में. You all are welcome in the bar. Being the privileged member of the society, raise voice, stand against any injustice. That is your duty, and that the constitution also expects from you. The courts also expects from you. Your parents also expect, and society also expects from you.
True, sir.
Anything else, Aditya?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for your message. And it is to be noted from your particular words of wisdom that we lawyers, we law students, we are also social engineers, and we have our responsibilities, and we will be we have future lawyers, we have future jurists, and future professionals. So now I would like to close a vote of thanks. Firstly, I would thank you, sir, for your valuable time. Then the core committee of the Advocates League, Mr. Nitish Kumar Mishra, who is the convener of the Advocates League, then Mr. Ashish Kumar Rai, who is the president of Advocates League, then Mr. Rahul Ranjan, secretary of Advocates League, and Mr. John Santosh, who is managing director of Advocates League. I would also like to thank our in association Legal Sarcasm, Mr. Hemant Srivastav, and the dedicated team. Thank you all. I,
Thank
Aditya
you.
Trivedi,
Namaskar.
take
Thank you.
follow.
Wish you all
Thank
the
you.
best. Thank you.